Edji, it is now time for satsang.
Thank you. That's so well. Have you practiced?
Just here.
Recording in progress.
As long as you have intention, of understanding what's going on inside of you, you'll find that it's all the same, but it's also different. Early on in our spiritual career, we had a lot of picked up beliefs from reading books. The problem is that they're written by the same people over and over and over again. To run across something new that spiritual teachers are teaching, you don't encounter anything new. For a long, long time. Mostly it's the same old shit inside of you. And if you learn to dig into that felt sense of existence inside of you, you'd be able to articulate it pretty well. Or it can articulate what you're experienced with closed eyes. What your sensibilities is telling you about yourself and the environment. And at first, when you start looking into yourself, feeling into yourself, or fundamental states, you can't find them because they're so covered over with the installed knowledge from books from past experiences of others. I remember reading about many masters' experiences, spiritual and otherwise, as they evolved in the East. But spirituality as more commonly accepted, is an attempt to disconnect from mind and reconnect to heart. And by heart, I mean all kinds of feelings, not just love. Robert's dog, Dimitri, seems to be in attendance. Dimitri was a cute little dog. He didn't try to hump your leg. He just hung around Robert. Better than we did. He didn't make much noise at all. And you know, when Robert entered the room where we had satsang, absolutely nothing happened. It wasn't as if God entered the room and we all felt it. When Robert entered the room, the only thing we noticed was that Robert entered the room. But there's no special sense of his presence, except we recognized in our own minds. But spirituality is moving from mind to inner experiences of life, emotions, feelings, how our legs feel against the chair or the ground. And as we go deeper into the feelings of mind, of the body, we tend to get distracted. By special states that come, that reveal to our minds a higher understanding than we had just moments before. There is that sense. I don't think it's real. There is a sense in many of us that we can understand everything if only given enough time. The inner life seems to unfold, at least in my case, rather slowly, but steadily over the decades. When I started in the late 60s, I knew absolutely nothing. And I was in search of understanding. I didn't know at the time is that understanding itself was the impediment, self-realization. Always searching in book after book after book, going to guru after guru after guru and sitting in the audience, listening to the talks or chanting. And I used to be happy when the speaker was relatively sophisticated enough to address some of the deeper aspects of spirituality. But almost all teachers were hesitant to speak about their present experiences and how they were set apart from themselves of 2 decades before. But for me, all the need to search has died. To me, it was like a false hero's journey. To be claimed as what you're doing, a drive towards self-understanding, self-realization. Even though you can't get it by directed practices. It comes over time through a host of incredible spiritual experiences, which leaves you feeling elated and special. But at the same time, hinders all future practice because you're always expecting big bursts of understanding instead of the slow erosion of the false patterns and understandings inside yourself. So I think spiritual teachers are saying something like, forget about all your understanding. Instead, turn your attention around. Turn it inwards towards yourself. And spend lots and lots and lots of time looking and feeling within. So you get to know what the life force feels like, what intelligence feels like, what grace feels like, and 100 other different experiences. After a while, you can no longer separate them or remember them all. They just keep coming, one after another. However, miracles begin to happen to you when they first start happening to you as a result of your spiritual seeking. But you seek in the wrong way. Most seek in terms of understanding, not for a direct experience of God, but an understanding of how everything works, because they bow to the mind's ability to understand. I don't hold the mind in very high esteem. I've been with some of the smartest people in the world. And often to me, they seem very empty, with just a lot of thoughts about grand schemes and how the divine and the material come together in rather elevated terms. But I never found that to be true in life. When you get down to the nitty-gritty of life, everything escapes understanding. How can you decide what it means that you're bitten by a mosquito at night that hovers around your head for 10 minutes and keeps you awake? You keep throwing your arms out trying to get the damn thing to settle down and shut up. But you know how you feel when there's a mosquito hovering over you when you're asleep or trying to sleep. You feel like you're at Pearl Harbor when it's under attack. But really, there's nothing to understand at all. Only the fake spiritual teachers talk about understanding and give you high concepts. And talk about ecstatic experiences. The ecstatic experiences come and go. Mostly there at the beginning of your search. When you step outside of your normal mindset. And then you figure, oh wow, it's really happening now. But then watch it dry up for 4 years, leaving you wondering why all of these vast energies forgot all about you overnight when you were making such great development before. Beginners have a lot of experiences because their minds are turned inwards in a persistent way. And they begin experiencing a whole new universe within themselves and whole new classes of experiences when you see spirituality from this point of view. I've seen so many unbelievable truths coming out of even the greatest spiritual teachers that are simply bullshit. Even from Robert. You are not who you think you are. You're God Himself. You're infinite. Total depth. Total understanding. Immaculate conception. You're total bliss. They say all of these things, these concepts. But nobody really finds them except they make it up in their head. Find them. Like I remember when I was with Oktananda, every week, I think usually on Thursday, during satsang, people will give their personal experiences as part of the satsang. And since Muktananda talks about a blue pearl, the penetration of which leads to the ultimate understanding, and all that people did experience in their lives that they talked about spiritually was experiencing the blue pearl. But they never do describe what the experience is like, only about what happened during the experience. There's a lot of shit that goes on in your mind to explain the experiences you have in spirituality, which are better left uninterpreted. Just leave them go. Let them go. If they were a deep understanding, they'd stay. But if it's just like you experience an extraordinary experience of understanding, but a day later, there's nothing to show for it. It was just a burp, an ecstatic burp that you're trying to wrap understanding around. When spirituality isn't about understanding at all. It's about sinking into yourself and thereby losing the world and making the focus of your own attention on yourself and what goes on within you. Forget about the outside world. That's why Robert would say, the world is not real. It's to get your awareness unfocused on the external world because it's not real, and instead turn inwards towards yourself, which they called real. But that inner self is changing as much as the external world. So that truth doesn't really hold there. The truth is that they're trying to teach us to turn your attention around from attending to the external world to attend to your own self. Grasp your own self. Even if you find nothing there, hold on to that inner state of nothing happening. until something does start happening. And experience by experience, the false understanding you had from the past, from reading books, from limited practice of meditation, will begin to fall away while you become more and more aware of various fields of nothingness inside of you. The observation of which doesn't reveal any understanding, but does allow you to begin to feel for yourself within. One of the central problems of spirituality is to turn your attention on yourself and to make any significant gains by doing that. Because when you first turn your attention inwards, you may find something interesting there, but eventually it just becomes boring. And you lose attention. It doesn't grasp you anymore. Thus, we can waste a whole lifetime doing limited meditation and hanging on to meager results that seem dramatic. Or Robert walks up to you in a dream and says to you, "You are my air. You have all my understanding, all my truth. Go forth and teach it." What I've found is that spiritual students really love to teach about what they're learning, even though they haven't learned much at all. It's so different from them, from where they were a year or two ago. They can't help speaking about it. Take a look at television. Take a look there at the people that were relating stories to the public as entertainment. And we really don't have a Christ among us, do we? Even a Robert is very hard to come by. Robert couldn't elevate himself. He used other people as mouthpieces to sing his praise. And let's say you spend 10 years practicing ever deepening meditation. After 10 years, you'll find there's nothing left to search. It's like it's all out in the open for you. And you can just absorb the feelings and watch what's going on inside of you. Feel what's going on inside of you. And feel how much you escape from dependence on the external world. And you'll find it's not easy to make a living off of the external world if you don't pay any attention to it. So people bond together in terms of groups or communes or clubs to carry out collective action of even, for example, of establishing a spiritual community with all that that entails. I encourage you to look at that video of Shankarananda, Cohen, and 2 other people publicly talking about their experiences of being in charge of a spiritual community. You'll wonder how they ever got to be spiritual teachers. Who gave them that title? I have no idea what the operator is saying the phone call's about. This is Wednesday, so it's probably a sales call. We used to get 10 to 15 calls a day inquiring about installing solar energy or some other thing. Now it's far rare, maybe 2 calls a day. I'd love to have some questions, if anybody had any questions. But you all look like you're asleep, and if you're asleep, you don't have questions. Cassie, do you have a question?
No, I often do have questions for you, but then when I'm here, I don't have any questions.
Can't hear you.
I do often have questions for you when you're not around, but then when you're here, I don't remember them. So
Write them down.
I have to write them down.
What about you, Ian? Any questions?
One big question, Ed. One big question, Ed. I signed my name with a question mark. I think if I didn't have any questions, I can't even imagine that. I often question why I have so many questions, but then that only brings up more questions. And every question I get answered creates another question. So what's the point? Yeah, one big question mark.
Do you feel what it would be like to not have any questions?
Oh, I have that a lot. And then
What does that feel like?
What is it? Good. Of course, it feels fantastic. It feels simple. It feels clean.
I can't hear you.
It's on.
It feels simple. It feels clean. It feels uncomplicated. It feels beautiful. I'm able to appreciate where I am and what I am and who I'm not. So those moments are incredible. Yeah, and I have lots of them, and the rest of the time I'm a question mark. That's okay. Chanting helps.
Does.
You were talking about not having anything for 10 years, and I'm thinking, well, wait a second, when was my first spiritual experience? And I think I was about 12, so I'm 76, so does that hit 50 years? Probably. Is that
64?
Yeah. Is that 64? Okay, yeah. When I'm 64. So is that important? Not in the moment, no.
You know, it's quite an experience at my age when I go to various internet sites for one reason or another. They tell you to enroll. A lot of them ask your age, something similar. And they have these automatic things with it scrolls through the months and the years.
Yeah, it's a bit frightening, isn't it?
And you watch all those years roll back. A decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades. And the memory grows rarer and rarer. But you look at all those years that passed and how significant they seemed at the time, and there's nothing left of them except a number.
What the fuck moment?
Mark, what do you feel right now?
I feel very calm, peaceful, spacious, open, subtle sense of euphoria, well-being, and really like no conflict within. It's like a lake that's like very smooth lake, undisturbed. I like the question you posed with the guy who dies and arrives at the pearly gates, whatever, and he says, "What the hell was that all about?" Referring to his life, his human life.
That was one of my students that he was in psychotherapy with me, and he went on to become a psychologist. He was very, very smart. And that was the conundrum that he kept presenting me with. He says, the end of my life, I want to go to the pearly gates and ask God, what was that all about? I thought it was the funniest thing I ever heard. But now you're expressing it like it's nothing. It's within the general grasp of everybody, this realization of how little goes on, because we're really not submerged in life, but in the brain where it's rather dried up. There's not a lot of wetness in our lives, unless we have Shakti in it. Adam, any questions?
Not really at the moment. Feel the same way. I have a lot of questions for you when I'm not here, and then I come here and they all kind of fade away.
Yeah, that's the nature of questioning. Me too.
I feel like I have more trivial curiosities than I do actual questions, but nothing worth bringing up, I don't think.
Yeah, like, what's the number on that locomotive over there? Is it 5611 or 56110? Oh, that's a deep question.
Do you think it's kind of funny and ironic how 180 I've come in a short time here in orientation, I guess you could say, was my entire goal was to understand everything. Ken Wilber's Philosopher's Club, and trying to understand his worldview of the universe is about as convoluted as you can get. And now the goal is
He's still around?
He is.
Where is he living now?
I think Colorado, Boulder area. I might be wrong about that.
And what's he teaching about now? Do you know?
His integral theory.
Wow.
Still teaching that, just expounding upon it, making it even more complicated.
And you really enjoy that, huh?
I did. Sometimes I would bang my head against the wall, but I thought I was enjoying it. But now I'm trying to go the opposite, forget all of that stuff.
Just indulge me, but become very quiet and settle down, watching yourself, getting into a position of watching your body, feeling your body, feeling your mind. From this position, from your point of view, are you larger than your own mind?
Yes.
What's the experience like?
Kind of like almost like a zooming outward from this little contracted position. It feels more open, almost like transparent, like everything feels less solid, I guess you could say.
Is there any color involved?
Feels kind of more neutral or less saturated or something.
Vesselina, when you go inside, when you turn your attention inside of you, what is the most significant part or conclusion you can come to about your experience?
I don't know. I don't remember the entire question. The most significant, I don't know.
When your satsang is over, and you've talked to Michael enough, you go back just to being yourself. What conclusion do you come about yourself? This is where the problem is for most people. What comes out at this time with the question I asked that way, there's a lot of judgments about myself, or they do about themselves. Either they don't like what they experience, or they can't experience it, or they experience it questioning with no answers. If somebody asked me a question like that, I would have no answer. Chris, a penny for your thoughts.
$5.
No, that's outrageous.
$4.50?
That's not worth it.
A penny.
All right. So much of what you said today, I kept saying, I related to so much. When you were talking about other people's experiences in books, I know that when I read things, it corrupts me in a sense that I start thinking that's what I should be feeling, or that's what I should expect to feel. And that's been something challenging to disregard, is the experiences of other people as a guide to what I should be feeling. Or not even a guide, a requirement, because if I don't feel that, then I'm not on a spiritual path. So getting rid of should has been a challenge. Also listening to other people and their experiences and going from book to book is like looking for the answer, is something I also find challenging, that I relate to what you said today, is basically screw all that, just go inside and follow my own path and feel my own feelings, and it will be my own personal path, and everyone out here will have their own personal path, and we can share them, but it's personal, and don't expect or don't try to make it into anything but what I feel. And then another thing is, I've noticed that when I do look inside and try to feel my body, I've noticed lately that my mind narrates what I'm feeling. So I'm not really feeling as much as thinking about the feeling. And I've only recently noticed that my mind is participating in the feeling of my body, and I have to watch it. I'm watching my mind do that now, and I'm in the only way I feel for me is what you keep saying about relaxing. And if my mind is narrating my life, so be it. Don't fight it. Because at first I was saying, no, stop that. But that's just fighting. Watching it and really just relaxing. As you keep saying, relaxing is so much the key. Just keep relaxing, and the feelings will come, and they come to me slowly. But I don't want to fight with what I am feeling or thinking or narrating. Just let it be and just keep relaxing. So I hope that was worth the penny.
No, it wasn't.
Screw it then. This all sucks.
Eddie, what is your experience when you turn within, trying to feel or find yourself?
Right. Sometimes I'll feel like the energies within here, and then I'll feel tension in different parts of my body. So, and then I think back to what you say, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with the tensions? And I think you said like focus on the tension, and, like go into it so we can relax it. So then I try doing that, and then sometimes I'll still be able to like feel the energy kind of going all over the body, sometimes into the hand, but then when I feel like tension, I try to make that the number one priority to focus on, to release that. And so it's been like a mix of like just going in and feeling, and then catching tension, and then focusing on that as my main point. And then my mind will start messing with me, and it's like maybe I'm supposed to be more focused like down here than as opposed to going where tension goes. So, but when I do feel like the energies and even like the tension itself, I still feel like fantastic. Like I feel like happy and at peace. So it's like a bunch of like stuff going on like simultaneously. But yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling when you're able to go within and feel like it's good feeling.
Now, what about an old timer like Mark, who's been doing this for 1,500 years? What is your experience when you turn within?
Well, I mean, I've been practicing these teachings for longer than I've been alive. So I'm in a small, very small group that have achieved this. I'm not sure how I've achieved it, but I'm very pleased that I have. No. When you say go within, pay attention to yourself, that's all I do. Like I'm permanently in that state pretty much. Like I'm always attending to myself. Like it's all, my attention is turned around, and it feels wonderful, and it feels like at the moment like a pristine lake of just beautiful, peaceful, happy, euphoric. You know, the things I talked about a few minutes ago. And thoughts rarely come. And it continues to unfold by itself. A couple of years ago, I didn't think there was anything more to unfold, but I was wrong. There's always stuff to unfold. There's always things to let go of that we assume are just an inevitable part of our being, but that's an illusion a lot, you know. There's subtle or deep, very deep stuff that needs to be let go of, and I have done that, and I'm sure in a couple of years' time I'll be talking about the stuff that I thought was inevitable today that has now been released. But yeah, I mean, I've long ago reached the point where the whole thing is permanent or ongoing, and it's there's no effort involved at all. It's like a switch was made from the contracted state to the open state over time. It was made, and it's my natural go-to. So you also said you reach a point where you can't know yourself any better. I think I've reached that point a long time ago too. However, there were still some wrong identifications deep within me that would come up sporadically that I was in denial about. So circumstances arose where I needed to confront it and be honest about it. And I did, and it was hard. It was painful. but I'm glad I did it. So, because I emerged in a much stronger state than I was previously in. So if that makes any sense to you, I'll give you a
No, that doesn't. So could you elucidate?
Can I elucidate? Can I be more specific, you mean? Is that what you mean by
well, I don't know.
elucidate?
However you interpret what I ask.
Well, I mean, I was having like anxiety reactions to like a family circumstance, let's say, or people that are close to me. I would have anxiety. I would have attachment that was disguised as something that I couldn't avoid, but it was just undealt with. It was undealt with, and I was forced to confront it because of circumstances. And I faced a lot of painful stuff. I faced a lot of scary things. And I emerged the way I am now. So not really much more to say on that. Edji, what do you think is the biggest mistake that people make in these teachings like that? Or if you have an opinion on that.
Say that again, question mark.
Yeah. Do you have an opinion as to what the most common error that people on this path tend to make?
Preconceptions.
Yeah.
Preconceptions based on earlier experiences with yourself and what you've read. It's really easy to think about stages and steps when it comes to yourself and your spiritual development. But basically, most people stuff themselves into a series of boxes they think are inevitable, that you have to transfer between. But I've learned that when you give up the questioning and instead just do the observing, there's nothing easier than that. You give up your mind. For me, for example, the mind, my mind, is separate from me and my body. It's a little larger than a basketball. And it does all the thinking. And ideas shoot out of it, and I can understand them. I hear them if I click into them. But essentially, I have nothing to do with the mind. I can watch the mind. I can watch my body. I can reach wrong conclusions immediately or right conclusions over a long period of time. But essentially, I've learned there's nothing to learn. There's no graded level of internal secrets that you can pursue on your way to and past self-realization. It's all a floor show. Everything you experience is just bullshit. And even knowing that, you'll entangle yourself in the bullshit because it feels necessary to do that. When it no longer feels necessary, and you can just let it ride without paying much attention to it, there is such a deep sense of release, and peace. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Vesselina doesn't have to continue pursuing the tests that she's practicing for. She's not going to get a doctorate. It's all over. You have to become nothing. Michael has to become nothing too.
Will you give me a degree?
I guess I could print one out for you. Who grants the degree in your country?
The country? I don't know.
That sounds really deep. You must have struggled to get that answer. Your cats have taken your mind away from you. Must feel good.
It's also, English is not my first language, and I don't know how things work. Equivalent to your country. But actually, I really don't know the answer. Who gives the diploma? University.
Last night, Karima was asking me, how far is Bulgaria from Ukraine? You have one country between you and the Ukraine, don't you? How far is that approximately?
I don't know. You keep asking me things that I can't answer. Let's say, I don't know, 6-8 hours away.
By foot or by train?
By car. I don't know how long
By
does
car.
it take to cross
6
Romania.
hours is 60 miles per hour. 400 miles, let's say. We'll accept
But
that
I
as...
might be lying.
What?
I might be lying to you. Mark said it's 1,000 kilometers. So I don't know how much is that.
400 miles.
Mark says it's 1,000 kilometers. What's the
Yeah.
country
1,000 and-
between both?
1,017 kilometers according to Google.
Now that's between what and what?
Bulgaria and Ukraine. So I guess it's from point to point, the closest.
What's the separation caused by? What country is there?
Romania.
Romania. Now, Vesselina, don't you feel elated by this latest understanding you've gathered?
Yeah.
It's 1,000 kilometers to...
It's good to know things, yeah.
To the war.
Yeah. Well,
Who's winning now?
I don't know.
How old are you?
I'm 28 and a half.
Okay, so you know that.
I'm almost 29.
What?
I'm almost 29. Yeah.
And you're still in school?
Sadly. Yeah.
Do your parents question you to that extent too? What are you doing in school at 28 and a half?
Yeah. That's like every 5 minutes they tell me that.
What's your answer back? Do you have any answer back?
No. I just say I know. I know and things like that.
Edji, I just want to make a comment. So you keep talking about relaxing, but for a lot of people, I think the hardest thing to relax is the psyche, is relaxing their nervous system. So even if the body's totally relaxed, the mind and nervous system can still be in overdrive to an extent.
No.
Because of habit. No? Okay.
No.
If you relax the body enough.
If you can relax the body enough, the mind disappears.
But that's if you can relax it enough. That's the proviso that may not be achievable by some very easily.
It's kind of a endless enterprise to learning how to relax by consciously relaxing your body and the stresses and the strains you feel within your body. It goes on forever. But when it finally happens, you're probably not even thinking about what has happened to you. When it finally happens, it's like your body disappears. There's no tension in it anymore. And everything seems very fluid when it comes to the body. And with that fluidity, there's no chance for the mind to settle down to a particular place. There is no settling. You're left completely lost. And when you're completely lost and you sink into that feeling is freedom. That feeling is freedom. So, Veselina, when somebody asks you a question on a test, just freeze and say to yourself or write it down, this question is meaningless. The real question is, who am I? And I found out who I am, and I'm the ease of being. There's no problems here. There's just happiness here and peace. That's what you tell them, whether you feel it or not. Someday you will. Ian, I've left you alone for too long. I have to come into the picture and talk to you. What do you feel?
I feel good.
What does that mean?
Oh, Mark described very well. Tranquil lake. Absolute enjoyment in hearing Veselina's replies. Dance of the Shakti. There's no words for it. Words don't work, really. So yeah, right now, I feel really good. In a moment, I have no idea. But
That's
right now,
good.
yeah, really good. I've been pondering, Mark advises there is no doer. And I've been pondering and I realised that I really don't have that experience yet. And he sort of threw down a challenge to me about that there is no doer. And my mind says, no, I can't answer that. There's obviously a doer. And I'm sitting with that. And it's feeling okay that I don't really have to understand it, but I hear it. And understand seems to be the problem.
I don't know what the hell it means to be a doer or not, but I'd say that my measure would be of being a beer. Not a doer, a beer. which means I'm a bump on a log that is self-aware. And there's not much more to say than that.
I can feel a Frank Sinatra joke coming on.
Why? What do you mean?
Who dooby 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 doo.
Sorry, that's beyond my ken.
No, I can know it.
Or my Gene either, or my Bobby.
It's an old joke and I've forgotten it, so I'm a bit embarrassed right now. There's something about, what's the meaning of life, Frank Sinatra? He said, to be dooby dooby doo. Something like that. Something ridiculous.
Boy, the deep shit we come up with, isn't it?
Yeah, really scraping the bottom of the barrel, I tell you. Wow.
People from outside our group would be amazed and shocked to know how deep we were, wouldn't they?
They couldn't click away fast enough. What sort of bullshit is this, they'd say? What are these idiots talking about? Relax? What are you talking about? Relax. Yeah, crazy. Just crazy.
But to pursue the relaxation of the body and the relaxation of your own spirit comes along with it at the same time. To really get to the place where you're relaxed and totally open is an amazing experience. So, I love you all. Try to have a good week until we speak again on Sunday. Hopefully my beard will be gone by then. I only grow a beard because I hate shaving. But after a while it gets too itchy and I don't want to deal with it. Robert told me many times to grow a beard like him. And I really don't like it. I wear a mask for a CPAP machine, and it doesn't seal too well if the hair gets too long. And then when it doesn't seal too well, it makes a lot of whistling sounds that wake Kareem up, and she's pissed off. So all in all, it's gotta go. I love you all. Try to have a not too crappy week. Until Sunday. Thank you. Bye-bye.